welcome all of you on this auspicious day and in this auspicious times when we are near Diwali. With that, I would like to call first our chief guest, Shriman Madhukar Snehagu sir.
So the Indic scriptures or the Indian knowledge system talks about Panch Mahabhut, out of which three are soil, water and air. Why water bodies are important is because that is a conjunction point of soil, water and air. So if we understand the holistic point of view about water bodies, then we'll be able to deal with them the same way. So can we go to the next slide? Our approach is water bodies are not just pool or reservoir of water. They are ecosystem service provider to their respective vicinities. So whether it is a river or a pond or a lake or a rivulet or reservoir, any kind of natural water structure is always a conjunction point of soil and then water and then air. And the exchange between soil and water and air actually gives birth to the ecosystem services which are provided to the vicinity. So what are these ecosystem services? We've divided it into three categories. Can we just move on to the next slide? Yeah. So one is the mitigation services. There are plenty of problems which happen due to anthropogenic activities which also cause problem to the human beings only, not just to the human beings. It is actually causing a problem to all the living beings. But to take it to the human approach, most of the human beings are getting impacted due to water pollution, due to air pollution, soil fertility. Then we have some problems like nowadays, thanks to the awareness that we have globally, we have more talks about climate change and global warming, which is impacting, resulting into urban floods, flash droughts. All these problems, we take it as a natural calamity, whereas these are all instigated due to human activities. We are disturbing the natural balance and then we say it is a natural calamity. It is not a natural calamity. We have disturbed the natural balance and then we get impacted with these resultants. So this is basically a resultant of our own activities. And all these problems can be sorted just by restoring the health of the water bodies. We are all trying to clean the water bodies. Whereas no water body needs cleaning. Water bodies are in sick state. We need to restore them back to good health. And once the water body is healthy, everything will fall in place. So air pollution mitigation happens with a healthy water body naturally because of the sheer structure of the water molecule. Top is negatively charged, bottom is positively charged, due to which a healthy water body creates a huge surface of negatively charged, right? Now this negative charge will attract all the positively charged particles, which you call as the particulate matter, which are basically recognized as the air pollution. The concentration of particulate matter PM 2.5, PM 1, PM 10, PM 5, all these are largely positively charged. So if the water body is healthy, top surface is negatively charged, all these particulate matter will naturally get attracted. They land onto the water surface, get wet and sink in. Because the moment they get wet, they'll be heavier than the water molecule, right? So air pollution mitigation done naturally. Then within the water body, there is an aquatic food chain. So there are single-celled organism microbes which will perform photosynthesis. They'll produce oxygen. So this oxygen is being produced within the water. So it will first add to the dissolved oxygen level. So the DO level will be high. It will be a good environment for all the aquatic organisms because everybody is air breather. Once the production is beyond the holding capacity of water, it is emitted in the air. So air around any healthy water body is more oxygenated. That is why you see all the tourist places are next to a water body. Whether it is a sea or a river or a lake, it is or a waterfall, it is always next to a water body because 80% of the oxygen that we breathe is consumed by our brain. So we get rejuvenated because of the brain. we get tired because of the brain. So when we are at a tourist destination, when we see a lot of, when we get a lot of fresh air, fresh oxygen, we get rejuvenated, and that is what creates fond memories. So we keep going back to the same tourist destination again and again, and it is all because of the water bodies, right? Then every water body is also a carbon sink. So for the process of photosynthesis, you need photons which will come from the sunlight, and the carbon which is required will come from the air. So the legacy emission eradication is a natural function of the water body, right? So these are just about the mitigation services, which also includes health of the people living in the vicinity. All the vector and the waterborne diseases, once the air pollution mitigation is done, you have fresh air. So air pollution linked diseases like your allergic bronchitis or your asthma, all that is removed from the vicinity, and people are healthier. Once people are healthier, obviously they'll be able to work more. So work efficiency goes up, earnings goes up, savings goes up. So people are healthier, happier and wealthier. Conservation of biodiversity, conservation of aquatic food chain, these are all the natural function of the water bodies. So once we focus on restoration of the health of the water body to restore the ecosystem services, the intervention that you have done is sustainable. So it will go on its own after you are moved out of the project. That is what has happened with all our projects, with no exception at all. And then comes the maintenance services. If the water body is healthy, it will be perennial. It will neither ever dry during peak of summers, nor it will get flooded during peak of monsoon. It is basically because the theme of today's event is water above and below the surface, right? And the water above and below the surface are actually linked through soil capillaries. If the water bodies are healthy, there is no sludge in the bottom, there is only silt, and silt is nothing but nanoparticles of soil which will percolate down. Anything of a lower density, when kept on top of a higher density material, it will start percolating down, and behind that is water, so water will follow. That is how soil capillaries are made, which is a link between the groundwater and the surface water body. So during peak of monsoon, when there is heavy downpour, the surface water body will recharge the groundwater. And during peak of summer, when the evaporation rate is high, groundwater will recharge the surface water body. So the water volume, the water channel will always be maintained. So water body will be perennial. There will be no flooding, there will be no waterlogging, there will be no droughts, because soil capillaries are filled with water. So there is no possibility of a drought as well, right? So maintaining the temperature is yet another function. We are all cribbing about UHI, urban heat island, right? And specifically when we are talking about town planners, everybody knows that we also need to manage heat nowadays because of the global warming, right? And how do we manage heat? Because urban dwelling is all about concretization. So the more concrete we have, the more living spaces we have, the more working places we have, the more offices we have. So either we move on from the concretization to a new method of building, the new method of construction, or we need to live with the inevitable condition which comes along with the concrete construction. So concrete will always reflect heat, and that heat will be there in the atmosphere. So what do we do with this heat, which anyways has to come because sunlight will come every morning, right? So what do we do with this heat? So if, as a part of the town planning, if we have adequate number of the water bodies, every water body is a heat sink. It will absorb 6 to 8 degrees of temperature from the vicinity, right? That means we have a cooler environment, you need less air conditioning, and people are healthier with lesser amount of energy bills. So people are wealthier also because they're saving a lot of money, right? So these are the functions of which we call as the maintenance services. So these are three different kinds of services. Three different categories are mitigation, conservation, and maintenance, and all of them are done by the healthy water body on their own. So this is what we need to restore with our projects. The entire intervention is based on Vedic sciences, and the entire measurement is done on the modern science. So that is the best of the both worlds, because what we have studied is basically Indian knowledge system in more than almost 1.5 decade of our research. It started way back in 2011, and we launched Vaidic Srijan LLP in 2021. And since then, we have been coming up with newer technologies. The first technology was, of course, carbonomics technology, which is for resurrection of the native ecology in water bodies in the wetlands. Then we have eco-dredging. Then we have eco-lining, which is for the water bodies which get completely dry during peak of summers. Then we have eco-drainer, which is for in-situ treatment of the drains. And then, because we understood that 80% of the entire water used by the country is actually going into the agri sector. So we came up with a new technology which is called MAGIC, Medicine for Agricultural Growth and Integrated Crop Conservation, which is only for the agri sector. So this is aimed at making the agri sector disease, pest and weather resilient, chemical free and antibiotic free. And that is also incidentally again done all by healthy water. So if we restore the health of the water, there are a lot of things which are possible, which are all linked. Another very interesting factor to note, because we are having a lot of water experts here, there is a lot of revenue which can be generated just by restoring the health of the water bodies. If we don't clean the water body, but we heal the water bodies, then all these revenues, which are primary, secondary and tertiary, one, primary is just by sheer being of the water body in a healthy condition. Secondary is making use of the water body as a subject of revenue generation, like attracting more people there and then generating circular economy out of the captive audience that we have at the water body. And tertiary is making use of the water, wherein the magic solution comes in the tertiary revenue. So that is how a lot of revenue can be generated. People can be healthy, wealthy and more prosperous. And this incidentally is a well researched point that I'm mentioning here, that the people are healthy, wealthy and prosperous. And there is a research report that I have that I would like to present to all the honorable members of the meeting today after the meeting gets over. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
Next, I would like to call Sriman sir. A little introduction about sir. Sir, your professional expertise spans stress analysis, highways, water and sewage treatment, and climate change adaptation, making you a versatile figure in India's urban infrastructure and environmental management sectors.
So, good morning, everyone. Eminent speakers, our chief guests, organizers, and beautiful audience, online and offline. First, I would like to thank Alkaji, who has remembered me to speak on this subject, because I have been dealing with this subject for last 45 years. So, water is not just a resource, as you have said. It is a basically core of human civilization, because when human civilization started, they started gravitating along the water bodies, like along the river banks, along the jhod, talabs, lakes used to be there. So if you find any lake or jhod within the villages, don't think that these were built by the villagers, because these were in existence. and the human started inhabiting along the bank because the water is the basic need. Everybody knows that the water is so important for our lives. That is an integral part of our lives because 70% of water is in our body. 70% of the universe is surrounded by water. 96% even Earth is surrounded by the water. 22% of the drinkable water present in the groundwater, 77% of drinkable water present in the glaciers, and the 1% water which is you see in the lakes and the rivers is we are extracting for our need. So this is the basically data for available water. But what we are doing with that means we know that water is so scarce, and many of our political leaders comes to us and then say that since water is a natural resource, why do you take the water charges? So my simple answer is that it is not a natural. This is the natural source. When you go to the river, go to the lake, take water, then it is a natural resource. But when it is taken from the source up to your doorstep, which takes a lot of resources, funds, to make it portable, then it becomes the scarce commodity. Means two words are there, scarce and the commodity. When you convert something, natural things, into the usable things, then it is a commodity. And because it is very scarce means it is scarce. It is hardly 1% is water is available, which we are also contaminating. Now the theme is very good, very attractive, and the need of the day that the surface water and the groundwater. The groundwater is underneath surface water, very beautifully designed by. I congratulate him who has designed so in such a beautiful manner that surface water and groundwater, these are both are interlinked. Interlinked means if the water, surface water is pure, it is safe, then your groundwater will also be safe because it is underneath. If groundwater is, surface water is pure, then it will percolate into the ground and it will also be the safe. If it is contaminated by us, because now we don't impress upon the sewerage management. If you see the manifesto of any party, they will say, we'll give you the free water. They will say that we will give you the free electricity. But nobody says that we will give you the free sanitation. Nobody says like this. But sanitation is equally important, rather more important than the providing the drinking water. Because drinking water may be safe and you are providing the safe water, but when it converted into the sewage or the wastewater, then it becomes more harmful. And as you rightly said that we should think about the circular economy rather than linear economy. When we think linear economy, then we are wasting our treated water or the wastewater directly into the ponds and the reservoirs and the other things without any using. Because when I say, somebody says that it is a wastewater, no, it is an asset. If you treat it properly, then the treated water can be used for the non-drinking purpose. The sludge which can be used for the manure, and the biogas can be used for the power generations. So it is more important than the drinking water. And it should not be called as wastewater, it should be called as asset water. But we should handle it with care. Otherwise, we will be facing a lot of difficulties. We are reducing the aquifers. We are contaminating our surface water. We are facing the waterborne disease, very dangerous waterborne diseases, diarrhea, cholera, malaria, everything. These are caused by the contaminated water. So it has to be handled with the care. And now we generally rely on the surface water and the groundwater. Now the time has come, we have to take the complete paradigm shift from the conventional management of water supply to the new water management system. We have to move from the conventional use of water, of surface water and the groundwater, towards the recycled water. We have to move towards we have to harness the every drop of water from the saline water. If you are in the on the sea, bank of the sea, you can harness the brackish water. I have my research paper has been published in a global journal, that around 25 million gallon water, which is brackish water, which is unusable in Najafgarh zone, in Shadra zone, in various parts of Delhi, which is lying unused, can be harnessed and made it recyclable and can be used for Delhi's, the area which are facing the water stress. So we have to think the conventional use of drinking water towards the non-conventional water. We have to take the paradigm shift from the demand side management from the supply management to the demand side management. Everybody talks about the supply. CPHO says no, the water supply should be 150. Somebody debates no, the legal board says no, it should be 220. And in DDA master plan, it was usually the 374. Then we have reduced to the 150 in 2041. So everybody talks about the supply water management, but not the demand side management. We have to reduce the demand side management. We have to make the system of water tariff that everybody uses minimum water. You make the telescopic tariff system. If you use the more, then you will have to pay more. You have to multiply the water tariff and you have, at the same time, you will have to incentivize those who are using the less water. So we have to shift from technology towards the nature-based technology to the system. As our chief guest has already told that we are in our Vaidic system, there is a huge literature is embedded in the water management, but nobody uses that. The wetland system. We have to use the rainwater harvesting system, because we are extracting water more and more. Because surface water is contaminated, if it is reduced and we are compelled to go to the surface water, and it is overexploited. Even in Delhi, 160% water is exploited. Whatever is injected, we are using more, 160% more. So we have to use the conventional to shift towards the to nature-based resources. We have to manage the aquifers also. We have to think beyond the technology, not the water treatment plant and other things. We have to go beyond it. We have to use artificial intelligence. We have to use the GIS system for mapping the aquifers. We have to our water infrastructure. Many of the water management systems or utilities don't know where is the water line going, how much water is being produced and how much water is being used. There is no water audit. You have to account for even actual every drop of water, where water is going. Water is very precious. So we have to move from the technology to the high advanced technology. You have to minimize your the pilferage. You have to go from quantity to quality. We are calculating that every person will use the 150 LPCD water, and we are giving more than say 150. But what is of use if it is not safe? So, if somebody is drawing water and it is contaminated, then what is the use? He will throw the water. It should be safe for the health. We should not think only the quantity, but we should think on the quality also. We have to move from the fragmenting approach towards the integrated approach. You see, in the Delhi, we were discussing with Mr. Bhatnagar. He has been friend, very old friend. We have used to work in Delhi Jal Board in many projects. That for a stretch of water, when it starts up to the end of the at the confluence point, drain is divided. It is being managed by three corporations, three departments. The first point is being maintained by the municipal corporation. The next stretch is being maintained by the PWD, and the mouth of the drain is being maintained by the flood control, and the river is maintained by the DDA. So for the single subject, and the water is being managed by the legal board. So for a single subject, 5 departments are working together, but not together, I'm sorry. They are working in silos. If you take the example of stormwater drain, the first stretch is desilted before the monsoon, the last stretch is desilted before the monsoon, and the middle one is not cleaned by the PWD, then what will be the use of cleaning the first stretch and the last stretch? And vice versa. If 2 stretches are clean and one is not clean, then what is the use of it? Spending the money on desilting. So every subject should be handled by the single authority. That should be water authority. Or the latest model is the one operator for one city. Like in Ghaziabad, they have implemented recently the water, sewerage and the oil treatment plant. They are being operated by one operator. So we can go for the PPP model. If you don't have the funds, so many departments that don't have the funds, they can go for the PPP model. The private operator will finance your entire project, and then he will also earn. But it will perform better than you. So we have to think in many ways. We have to think beyond the conventional system to the new system. We have to think differently. We have to think for the policy investment also. We have to make such policy that the water is managed by the private operators. We have to we should incentivize to the users who are using the water efficient fixtures. I have approached many times in Delhi to the Delhi government that like in electricity, so why don't you produce the water efficient fixtures, 3-star, 5 stars, who consumes the water very efficiently, very less water, and give the GST exemption on that. You subsidize those. Your water will be saved. Nobody listens. Like in rainwater harvesting, if the government says that we will do the entire rainwater harvesting system because we have to maintain the resources, water resources, they have enforced the consumers to go for the rooftop rainwater harvesting. But there is a lot of scope of going for the rainwater harvesting at community level, which can be taken up by the Delhi government or by any other government.
So our next address is by Dr. Manu Bhatnagar, and to introduce him, I would like to say a few words. Dr. Manu Bhatnagar ji is an accomplished architect and urban environmental planner with over 3 decades of professional experience in the environmental and planning sectors. He presently serves as Principal Director of the Natural Heritage Division at the Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, that is INTOC, where he leads multidisciplinary teams in developing and implementing projects on eco-restoration, natural resource conservation, and urban environmental management. An alumnus of Cornell University, United States, Dr. Bhatnagar holds a master's degree in regional planning alongside a bachelor's degree in architecture from Punjab University. He has also pursued advanced qualifications in policy analysis, strategic management, strategic environmental assessment, environmental law, conservation of rivers and lakes, ecosystem services, and sustainable development from internationally recognized institutions. Dr. Bhatnagar's work spans India and Southeast Asia, encompassing projects in river basin management, urban and regional planning, water policy, sustainable agriculture, biodiversity conservation, and heritage-based spatial development. His research and field projects have contributed to the protection and management of Ramsar sites, oxbow lakes, heritage water bodies, and riverine ecosystems, reflecting an integrative approach to natural and cultural heritage. He is currently a nominated expert member of the multi-stakeholder platform for Ganga tributary management under the government of Uttar Pradesh, the Wetland Authority of Delhi (GNCTD), and the NMCG Committee on Yamuna River e-flows and the Delhi Biodiversity Council. In academia, he has served as visiting faculty at the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, and the Center for Heritage Management, Ahmedabad University. Dr. Bhatnagar has also contributed extensively to environmental literature, authoring and co-authoring several influential publications, including Understanding Rivers in 2017, a guidebook to river basin management for medium and minor rivers in 2020, Naturalizing the Riverfront 2022, Samagrata and Samashakta 2022, a narrative of the Ganga, a citizen's report in 2023, and Heads and Tails of the Ganga in 2023 again. His work continues to shape national dialogues on environmental planning, natural heritage conservation, and sustainable development policy in India. With this, I would like to call upon Dr. Bhatnagar to throw more light on his work throughout. Dr. Manu Bhatnagar, please.
As an ecologist or environmentalist, I feel about that most primary is the integrity of basins. And basin integrity does not respect boundaries. We may do so in the short run, we may get something, but ultimately nature will strike back. Okay, we climate science is still in its infancy. We know some things about climate, but we don't know enough. How nobody is able to explain the monsoon phenomena, why it happens like this, the way it has happened in this year, or why it did not rain so much last year. We can keep on talking about El Nino and La Nina, but really we don't know sufficiently, adequately well. So, because we have been milking our rivers, maybe milking is not the right word, but we have been extracting water from the rivers, Ganga and Yamuna, and we made a map at Intact trying to show the number of interventions which have been made to extract water from the in the Ganga basin. And we were surprised to see that there are 1,000 points of intervention. You have dams, you have barrages, you have anicuts, weirs, and all kinds of things on large rivers and small rivers. So we are bleeding these rivers, and ultimately, what is happening is that neither, there's a lot of talk about inland waterways, but it's a failure. Why? Because we don't have water depth. In our survey of the Ganga, uh, while we crossed Mirzapur, and we were in a small boat, wooden boat, and we had to get out of the boat in order to pull it across shallow portions where the keel of the boat was actually touching the bed. So what will you do about inland waterways? How much water can you extract from the rivers? Okay, and if you cannot navigate, then what happens to the biodiversity also? A dolphin needs a depth of at least 3 meters. Okay, so that is why we in the gazetteers we did read that you even had at Okla, the dolphins, but of course you can't have them now. So basically, the landscape has become entirely human dominated, and we'll soon be seeing more and more of crisscrossing canals if this goes on. And all this is due to our confidence in our engineering technology. And that actually blinds us to localized solutions, which may be in the field of planning, which may be in the field of governance, and which may be far more economical than heavy engineering. With Mr. Tyagi, we had done this project on drafting the water policy for Delhi. And unfortunately, as he has also said, nobody wants to talk about demand management. Everybody wants to, supply. Okay, but supply has its own constraints, right? So, demand management can do much more for us than supply. Delhi is not short of water. Today, as per DJB, we are getting 900 million gallons per day from all sources, right? And if you look at the population, you are still getting 200 LPCD, liters per capita per day. And that is better than many other cities. And by the norms also, this is higher than the norms. And yet, we want to bring more water. Yes, I understand that all these huge infrastructure works means thousands of crores. So the project is started with an estimate of say 25,000 crores. And we all know by the time it ends, it will be 75,000. So those are perhaps some of the driving forces behind such huge projects. But what can we do about demand management in the city? As Mr. Tyagi mentioned, maybe we could think in terms of the financial instruments to incentivize the excessive use of water. But we could also think in some technical terms. Now I have pushed this thing several times. We all know about those small aerators which can be mounted on taps. Now, a small calculation, a population of 20 million in Delhi translates to 4 million households. We assign two taps per household, and that takes care of all institutional taps as well. So you have 8 million taps. Mount a aerator on each of them, and you can reduce your water consumption by something like 30 to 40%, which means something like about 150 to 200 MLD, million liters per day. Now, if this were done, and I'm not saying it's easy or that simple, uh, this could be done in 2 3 years at a cost of about 25 crores only. That aerator costs just 15 20 rupees, and it could be all you need is a plumber who puts it in 2 minutes. Now 200 MLD is the same amount which Delhi is going to get at an investment of 6 7,000 crore rupees from the Renuka Dam, perhaps 10 15 years later. So why should we not follow this route? Think about it. Another idea, you may say they are wild ideas. You all today be traveling on by air, very common. How does the toilet of an aircraft function? It's basically a tray system, which when the aircraft lands, that tray is taken out. The tray has a cover. When you pull it out, it's not that everything is exposed. The waste is not exposed, but you pull it out. So you have something known as a biolet. Biolet is something which works on the similar principle. So you have a WC, and below that there's a tray. So there's no water. Okay. Now the tray, actually you have to introduce some bacteria, and so ultimately it becomes compost. Now imagine right now, given the population of Delhi, and perhaps everybody flushes down something like 30 40 liters of water every day. So something like 200 mgd is being used in the city for just flushing. Now imagine that we replaced every WC, or at least the new ones, new construction, with these kind of dry toilets, right? You immediately begin to save something like 200 mgd. Okay, your water footprint begins to actually shrink. 200 mgd, imagine the impact it would have on your sewer system. The quality of the effluents which are reaching the STPs would be vastly improved as it is. It would be only wastewater, right? Why? The capacity which is existing in our STPs today would be already adequate. Okay. Which is the reason why perhaps this idea would never be followed up, because a lot of vested interests would be hurt, right? But the idea has to be floated, and that is what I'm trying to do. Now, when we first, revived Housecast in 2004, we were also novices, okay, and there was a foul odor from the lake and so on. And the neighbors over there, all in posh colonies, Green Park, Safdarjung, they were after our blood. What have you done? Anyway, with time, things improved. And all these colonies, they operate their tube wells and they get the groundwater which is recharged through Horsekhas Lake. After 10 years of operating the lake, we again tested the groundwater, and I can tell you that if it were chlorinated, you have ISO 10,500 class water, right? And these colonies are happily lifting that water through the tube wells, and in their minds, it is groundwater, right? So it is of that class, right? And so, there are ways and means of recycling. And recycling, there was another project which was proposed earlier about putting our treated wastewater into the river at a higher elevation, and then 20 kilometers it flows down, and then again it's picked up for. And you know that Singapore has that new water which is basically treated sewage up to World Bank WHO standards for drinking water, and it's known as new water. It's being it's as good as in London. The same glass of water goes through a human body 9 times. If you sit in British Airways, the ice cubes which you'll get are crystal clear. Whereas if you sit in some other airline, you'll find the ice cube is foggy. Why? Because of impurities, right? So even if they do, drink that water 9 times, or whether they bathe with it, the quality is meeting all the best standards. So, recycling can give us something like 400 mgd, right? And with that, what we can do is that we can leave much more water in the river itself. See, Yamuna has two issues: pollution. So we could address pollution in some of the ways I've spoken about. But flow, today what's happening is we don't really have much of a flow in the river. And you cannot address flow within Delhi. For addressing flow, you have to move upstream because the water is being diverted at Hathni Kund into the eastern and western Yamuna canals. So basically, the solution lies in these states where by reduction, by efficiency in irrigation, your impact on the river would also go down. You would not require that much of water. And at the same time, the water table would rise, and that would feed into the base flow of the river, right? So we need to look beyond Delhi for some of these issues, particularly Yamuna flow. Uh, Now, I would also invite your attention to another fact. In fact, Yamuna in Delhi is also flowing because of the amount of groundwater which we are throwing into the river. The city extracts groundwater. I think something like 279 mgd is being extracted annually, and of course, then it ends up into the river. So the river in Delhi and downstream is also flowing because we are throwing our used groundwater into the river. It's not so much of a natural flow. Urbanization is actually the colonization of the watershed. And, in our studies, we also found there are several paleo channels in the landscape of the city. And these paleo channels are actually gateways to the aquifers. So when we do our master plans, we should leave these areas as soft spaces where the recharge can happen rather than concretize them. So this is something which we have repeatedly told the DDA. I'm not sure what impact it has on them. But if we look at the green belt, you know that in the MPD 2021, we had a green belt which was one revenue village deep, and this was particularly so on the north, west, and southwest sides. Right now, we had put up one proposal, and that was, you see, the ISO heights of the city. ISO height, that is the line of equal rainfall. Near the Yamuna, we have got around 700 mm, And as you move westwards, it goes down to as low as 400 mm. So if we were to really thickly forest that green belt, okay, then what would happen is that we can actually shift those ISO heights of higher rainfall towards the west of the city, right? Dense forests actually are landing places for rainfall, and so we could pull and the have more rainfall towards the west of the city, and that is all soft ground. So you can imagine that a longer travel to the river over soft ground would be the biggest water harvesting and groundwater recharge scheme. Okay. Instead, what are we having? We are having what the DDA calls Green Development Policy. Right? What is the Green Development Policy? You can urbanize up to 30%, 40%. You can make gyms or marriage halls in that green belt. This is all as a result of real estate and commercial pressures and of the growing value of land. In fact, a belt of trees over there would also become a barrier to the desert winds and the sands which blow in from the west, which we will now not have. Uh, and the owners of those lands could have been compensated through carbon credits. Okay, you are growing trees, you maintain them, and you're providing ecosystem services to the city, and so you would be able to, uh, you would get earnings because of that. But that is not what is going to happen. Uh, Najafgarh Jheel in that area, very old water body. In fact, we have maps from not only 1807 but 1824 when the first trigonometrical surveys were being carried out. And a huge, huge jheel. The gazetteers mentioned something like 88 square kilometers. And even in the floods of 1958, 145 square kilometers were submerged. Now, you know that the drainage system of the city is already overwhelmed. Every year we have this, now we are talking about a 54,000 crore master plan for drainage and so on. But basically, you need sinks. Okay. And planners in the next round of, city planning must think in terms of providing, these sinks where such natural water bodies can form as a result of respect to the topography. So Najafgarh Jheel is where all the water of the western side development will naturally go to, and we had in 2010 uh, in the zonal plan L of the master plan got 356 hectares notified. That is just 3.5 square kilometers, but there's a much larger area which can be kept as a place where we gather our rainwater resources and not think in terms of not think of them as waste.
To this fortune adding is Alka Arya ma'am. I would like to welcome her. I believe that an address with you will be the perfect conclusion to this ceremony.
Namaskar, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to have this ornamented dais being presented from DRC to all of you. Sammanit Madhukarji, Adarniya Manu Bhatnagarji, Sammanit Tyagiji, experts from academia, industry, administration, vibrant students, and planners all across. पानी के बारे में जब हम ये कॉन्फ्रेंस करना चाह रहे थे, विचार बहुत क्लियर था कि जो थॉट्स हम अपने अनुभव से पानी के लिए लेकर आते हैं, लेट्स गिव देम सम स्टेज, वॉइसेस एंड सम मोर थॉट्स टू पॉन्डर ऑन. इसी कंटेक्स्ट में मैं आपसे आज 2 अनुभव अपने साझा करना चाहती हूँ जो पानी के बारे में मैंने सुने, समझे और अनुभव किए. लॉर्ड मनुस्मृति में बहुत क्लियरली ये मनुष्यों को आदेश देते हैं अपने अनुभव से, अपने शास्त्रीय ज्ञान से, डू नॉट डिस्चार्ज यूरिन, feces or spit into the water. Also not throw anything which is stained with amedhya. Amedhya, that is poisonous to the water. That is blood and poison. Just imagine our sewerage system. It's entirely built on mixing urine, excreta, into the water, taking it away from the living areas, throwing it in the river basins or land nearby. This was not so 150 to 200 years back. This concept of mixing amedh with water came from Britishers. So you may ask me, what was the alternate? अलका जी कृपया ये भी बताएं, भाई पानी के अलावा तो हम सोच भी नहीं पाते कि ये किस तरह से डिस्चार्ज होंगे. I'll give you the word sand. Sand as the replacement of water in toilets. And thank you Manu sir. आपने ये बात छेड़ी, मुझे लग रहा था मैं बोलूंगी तो आज लोग कहेंगे कि अजीब अजीब सी बातें हो रही हैं. But yes, the alternate is use of sand in toilets. And if it finds alien to you, please get handhold of design of dry toilet by Dr. Niranjan Lal Mangla, or to the Sandy, an off-grid sand toilet with moving paper conveyor belt and sand tank with a lever. No artificial energy impetus into it. It works with a lever. The sand falls on a tray conveyor belt made of paper or dry leaves processed. And it can be seen in internet through a very famous Brunel University graduate, Arki Lead. Third, please have an access to Eco-Loo, where our excreta urine gets biodegraded in 8 hours of time. The second experience being brought up in an Arya Samaji family is seeing the ritual of Yajna, Agnihotra. It is not just a process of burning, fire. It is actually a process of ethno-botanical combustion, helping in reducing pollutants and improving water quality. In Vedas, it's clearly mentioned that water is enriched with metaphysical and healing properties. It is described as a potent medicine. I'm giving you avenues to see water as a potent medicine, a natural cleanser. If this finds a little alien, how Yajna or an Agnihotra can relate to a water purification process, please get hold of NEERI report, where after 3 months of continuous Agnihotra and ash of that Agnihotra being deposited or thrown into the water or the near water body, the BOD dropped down in 3 months from 4.6 to below 3. And the reason is pure science. The herbs that were put into Agni was broken down by its temperature and pressure, taken at a very high speed within 45 minutes to 8-kilometer radius, mixing that essential oil from the herbs into the environment, in the water, and the air mixed in the water, killing the organic pollutants. Second, same Agnihotra research conducted by Professor William Selvamurthy in a very controlled environment. The pH of the water after Yajna was 5 to 5.5 instead of 6.16 or 6.44. After 3 months of continuous Yajna being performed near to a water body, the pH level was tested. Third, please refer to the research of Dr. Ulrich Berg, Germany. He performs HOMA therapy near to the water bodies in a controlled environment, where he says that HOMA therapy is a possible solution to pollution of water using copper vessel, pyramid vessel, pure cow's ghee, pure cow dung, strict sunrise and sunset use of mantras, and pouring that ghee into the pyramid, copper pyramid, and regulated through app called Agnihotra Buddy. And the results are astonishing, my fellow colleagues. The ash was acting as a nutrient to the plants, using for agriculture purpose, and as medicine to human beings. The bacterial count was reduced to 40% after 3 months of regulated Agnihotra ash being put it into the water. And of course, there were effects during the Agnihotra also. Please refer to the report of Dr. Girish Pahade and Pranay Abang from Pune. non-potable water turned to potable water after treatment with taking non-potable water through a column of Agnihotra ash, and immediately you pour the water that has come out, please get the numbers. 93% reduction in the bacterial count, 90% reduction in the hardness of the water, 48% reduction in BOD, 7% reduction in the chemical oxygen demand, and 48% reduction in the conductivity of the water. To support to this, please have a look at the report of the research work of Dr. Shailendra Sharma. Water quality was checked in Narmada River in Madhya Pradesh, a very controlled environment, again in conjunction with Dr. Ulrich Berg from Germany, Homa Therapy Gaushala Center in Maheshwar. In this Narmada River basin, samples were taken from 4 sites: Omkareshwar, Mahamandaleshwar, Barwani, and Homa Therapy Gaushala Center. Get the numbers, guys. It's astonishing. WHO prescribed the pH to be in the range for a potable water or a larger water body, which is to be used for a potable water purpose. From 6.5 to 9.2, the pH should be this. And at the Homa Therapy Center, it came after 6 months of controlled Agnihotra, ash being regularly put in, 7.5. Total solids, prescribed limit was 1500 maximum, and it was 650. Total hardness, 500 as prescribed, against that 475 in our experiment. Chlorides, from 600 prescribed limit, 250. Nitrates, prescribed 45, we got in our experiments 12. Sulfates, 1000 prescribed, 250. Fecal coliform, the coliform count, hardest for all the water engineers to handle. The prescribed limit by WHO is 100 ml, and in the Homa Therapy Center in Narmada River in Madhya Pradesh, 100 ml, exactly what is prescribed. So it is not for smaller water bodies or just pouring through the columns of Agnihotra ash, to the larger water bodies also. If such practices are performed, it gives cleansing to the nearest water body. Also, please have a look at the study of effects of Agnihotra on a borewell done in Australia. Highly alkaline and saline water. The pH was 9.5, and it was brought down after 6 months of continuous sunrise and sunset through the use of mantras, Agnihotra exercises, desi ghee, desi pure cow dung, and the pH was dropped down to 7.2. Salinity from 1150 ppm to 720 ppm. See, all these 6 examples are loud, they are screaming that please venture into our systems of Indic usage. From centuries, they have been used for settling the pollutants in water, air, and also giving mental peace, health to our metaphysics, health to our mind, and a spiritual connection. So, the point that is being established over here is we need to ponder upon these kind of researches which are low energy intensive, low. I mean, you can use these exercises at a very own household level or a very own individual level, and then making it slowly into a neighborhood, into a societal movement, and then to a city or to a town you are staying nearby. So, with these ideas, I leave up to all you guys to please think more about how we manage our water and how it can be done in our times to come. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Proceed towards concluding of the ceremony here, and we want to thank Shriman P.S. Uttiwar sir first for being here, for giving us so much time. Second, I would like Ma'am, Dr. Sanjay Prabhaduri ma'am.